What will I become?
It's just going to be the same game again, isn't it? Time for more Tomb Raider games, ladies and gentlemen, but now with the main games out of the way, we're going to head into spin-off territory this time and get us hyped, or rather get you guys hyped, for the newest main entry coming out, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. These two games are Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, and Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. That's a lot of ands there.
Obviously, we'll start with Guardian of Light, which was released in 2010, and unfortunately there's no interesting development history I could find, so I guess we can move on to the story. But I'll tell you now, it's pretty damn minimalistic and not at all important in the grand scheme of things. 2,000 years ago, there was an ongoing battle between the Guardian of Light named Totek and the Keeper of Darkness called Zolo. Zolo used this ancient mirror to call upon his evil army, while Totek managed to steal the mirror and imprison Zolo inside, turning him into a stone statue only to awaken again if someone were to find the mirror. Say a blue tank top, brown shorts wearing, dual pistols wielding explorer with an English accent whose name rhymes with Kara Loft, and oh look at that, a blue tank top, brown shorts wearing, dual pistols wielding explorer with an English accent whose name rhymes with Kara Loft locates the mirror, but gets cornered by this random group of mercenaries who are also looking for the mirror and accidentally release Zolo from his torment so he can rebuild his army and take over the world. Oops. So it's up to Lara and a revived Totek to travel through numerous tombs and ancient ruins to track down Zolo and defeat him before he causes any more harm, which, spoiler alert, he doesn't because he's more talk than do. This guy's a pretty lame Tomb Raider villain, all things considered, and after 4 hours of game time, he gets his ass properly handed to him by Lara and Totek and things go back to normal. And those mercenary dudes, yeah, we never see them again after the opening. You witness them get brutally slaughtered in one level at the beginning of the game, but I'm really not sure why these guys were even included at all if they weren't gonna do anything other than get killed off. This story is as basic as you can get, even for a Tomb Raider game, which is not bad by any means, and it's totally serviceable. You're told who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, off you go. But regardless of it being a spin-off, I would have maybe liked a little more substance. That's just me though. It's not just the story that plays it safe, however. The gameplay, puzzles, and environments borrow a lot from the Crystal Dynamics trilogy and clumps it all into one short adventure. Some of it kinda reminds me of the 3D Prince of Persia games too. I should really cover them sometime. Guardian of Light is like any other Tomb Raider game, only now it's in an isometric view similar to Tomb Raider The Prophecy on Game Boy Advance. This distorted view is one of the only aspects that sets it apart from the rest, but I don't think it's that big a deal. The puzzles and combat are built with the isometric view in mind, and very rarely did depth perception become an issue for me.
Never did I expect a Tomb Raider game to have a record scratch. That's pretty humorous.
I honestly don't really have any majorly bad things to say about Guardian of Light. It's perfectly polished and has its moments of fun, but the lack of identity kinda stops me from calling this a downright amazing game. Hell, they practically copy the T-Rex battle from Tomb Raider Anniversary as one of the game's 3 boss fights and just add slightly different traps. It's got the exact same music too, and later on they use the T-Rex again, only now it's on fire. And they didn't even bother putting in traps this time, you just gut him down like you normally would. And the final boss against Zolo, it's pathetic. You avoid his traps and shoot him like crazy afterwards. Do that a few more times and you win, plain and simple. But yeah, going back to the copying, I couldn't tell you how many times I stopped and thought to myself, oh hey, this is just like Tomb Raider Legend or Anniversary or Underworld. It got a bit distracting after a while. Doubly distracting were the cutscenes. Now, I'm not talking about the storyboard-like ones at the beginning and end of the game. Those have some pretty neat drawings and tell the story simple enough. But with the in-game cutscenes, you can tell Crystal Dynamics were lazy because every time a character speaks, the camera focuses on their back so that the animators didn't have to worry about mouth movements and lip syncing. And it's so badly hidden, it's laughable. It was nice to see Keely Hawes voice Lara again though, and after playing the rebooted series, I missed her spunkiness. Back to the gameplay, in Guardian of Light's defense, there are a few things aside from the gimmicky new view that does make it distinctive. One of them is the addition of artifacts, where upon equipping them they provide buffs to Lara, like increased defense or a larger blast radius for your new bombs. You can only equip one of these at a time, but Lara can also have a relic in her arsenal which gives even further abilities when this meter below her health is full by killing enemies and collecting treasure. This includes stuff like a spread shot for some of your guns, or regenerating your health and ammo. Relics, artifacts, and even new weapons can be found by completing certain challenges on a level, such as finding the 10 red skulls in each one, or blowing up a certain amount of trucks. Or you can obtain them after clearing these small secret puzzle rooms indicated by 2 red skulls in between an archway. I'd actually say the puzzles in these rooms are more clever than the ones you normally find, and very late in the game you can get some pretty sweet rewards. When I reached the end and fought Zolo, I had a relic that gave me a scatter shot, increased my weapon's damage, and refilled my health and ammo all at the same time. It was kick-ass, especially while I was using my awesome awesome golden shotgun as well. I was the gal with a golden gun. Speaking of which, I don't think Lara's had such a large assortment of guns since Tomb Raider 2. She gets a damn chain gun around halfway through the game, and even a freaking rocket launcher to deal with a fiery T-Rex. That is so ridiculous, yet so satisfying at the same time. You unlock new weapons fairly frequently, and they're all worth trying out, so long as it means you don't have to use this weak-ass spear from Totec that's only main use is to be a stepping stone for Lara. Guardian of Light isn't the most challenging game in the world thanks to these perks, but the amount of enemies thrown at you can get a little crazy at points, and I've sadly experienced some trial and error from time to time, particularly with these running segments where you have to keep moving and look out for traps. Those moments can be a bit cheap, although I imagine if you're doing the co-op multiplayer they may not be as bad, and honestly I think this game was built for co-op. It's quite strange to see that you're able to play a Tomb Raider game with a friend, but it's actually kind of fun. The levels have slight alterations where teamwork is required to progress and Totec becomes a playable character. He takes away the spear from Lara and needs to help her reach far places, but he can also use his shield to bounce back projectiles and give Lara a boost when she needs it. The only hindrance he has is not being able to use guns. I think he throws a spear harder than Lara does to make up for it though, but I'm not sure. I didn't have any issues playing Guardian of Light solo, but I definitely recommend grabbing a partner if you can, because this is where the game fares much better in my opinion. Who knows, you may even want to play as Kane and Lynch, available as free DLC. Characters from a short-lived game series that doesn't have any relation to Tomb Raider and are only famous because they got Jeff Gerstmann fired from GameSpot. Seriously, why the hell are these guys here?
Lynch? What was that? What the was that? I don't believe it!
Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light overall is just sort of there. Co-op aside, it's a bit short in both length and depth to make it remarkable, but I guess like some of the Platinum games, if you just want something quick and harmless, then go for it. Though if you're playing on your own, I personally think Tomb Raider Legend brings more to the table while being almost just as long to boot. Guardian of Light at least was only as long as it needed to be, given its simplicity, and I wouldn't want to keep going through it over and over again to make sure I get everything. If I were to make a one-word review for Guardian of Light, it would just be meh.
You could probably tell from the tone of my voice that I wasn't particularly interested in this game, but it must have done well in sales because 4 years later, in 2014, there came an unexpected sequel for the 8th generation of consoles. I suspected that Temple of Osiris wasn't going to add much from Guardian of Light, and while I am somewhat correct on that front, I actually think this is the better game.
Well, that's more for the gameplay department. Story-wise, it's not much better. The evil Egyptian god Set, the same one from Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, has returned from the dead to do something, but whatever it is, it's not good, and another Egyptian god named Osiris is the only one that can defeat him. Together, Lara joins with Osiris' wife Isis, another Egyptian god named Horus, who I guess just came along for the ride, and some random treasure hunter we know nothing about to look for the Temple of Osiris and wake him up. However, when they get there, it seems Osiris' statue has been split into fragments and placed in a number of tombs, so Lara and her new crew will need to explore and collect a new piece at the end of each one, putting them all together afterwards to revive Osiris, and finally battle and defeat Set. Once that's done, Horus and Isis stay within the tomb to make sure Osiris is no longer harmed and Set doesn't return, again, while Lara and What's-His-Face set out for a new adventure. This is still a very simple story and character revelations are non-existent, but like Guardian of Light, it's passable. Nothing amazing, but nothing atrociously written either. I have to admit though, I do find the premise of the game to be rather intriguing for a Tomb Raider title. After clearing the first level, you come across the Temple of Osiris, which acts as a central hub, and it's your job to locate the numerous tombs surrounding it. Once you grab a piece or two, you can take them back to Osiris' resting place and go search for the next one. Now don't worry, this isn't a massive world exploring collectathon or anything like that. No, the Temple of Osiris itself is quite nice and compact, and the new tombs you traverse are bite-sized in comparison to previous games. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a mainstream Tomb Raider title take on this approach. I think there could be some real potential. The puzzles are a bit more interesting too, mostly thanks to Horus' staff, which I find to be more useful than Totec's spear, because not only does it shoot a long laser from any direction, but it's also needed to interact with certain objects, like raising platforms or stopping large gears from spinning. It even helps show you which tomb you need to go to next if you're ever lost. Not all of the tombs and puzzles are winners in this game, in fact some of them take longer to finish than they really need to, but the themes do make it more interesting than Guardian of Lights. It's also got more bosses than that game did, and some of them are pretty cool to fight. Most of them require solving a puzzle in order to beat them, kinda like in Tomb Raider Legend and Anniversary, and thankfully they're all fairly unique from one another. Regardless, as you've probably guessed, Temple of Osiris is still a pretty short game, clocking in around 3.5 hours, but again, like with Guardian of Light, I think it's only as long as it needs to be. Plus you're also given post-game content like these combat challenges in certain areas of the temple, and look at that, you can even play as PS1 Lara Croft, that's always a good laugh. But fans of the rebooted series can also play as her should they choose to do so. Extra tombs are also available as DLC, so that's really up to you at this point if you felt that the game should be longer. I've been giving Temple of Osiris all sorts of praise, but that's not saying it doesn't come with a few snags. Things can get a little repetitive after a while, so I'd suggest not playing long sessions. That is one thing I will give Guardian of Light credit for over Temple of Osiris. It's got a better sense of pacing. This new weather mechanic also doesn't seem to add much to the gameplay. I mean, sure, some of the new artifacts and relics only work during certain weather conditions, but I'd rather fill that space up with something that'll last me a while. The secret tombs are much fewer this time around, and a couple of the rewards aren't even worth it. I've had a glitch or two happen during my playthrough. There's unfortunately still the occasional bit of trial and error, and I've even had the game crash on me at one point. It's a very good thing it autosaves. And a slight nitpick, but you're not prompted quite as clearly as Guardian of Light when challenges are available, which sometimes makes me walk right past them and miss out on prizes. So it was a bit of a tough call as to which game I liked better between Guardian of Light or Temple of Osiris, but in the end, Temple of Osiris just barely wins for me because it's being its own thing rather than creating a mixture of stuff that worked in other games. Level design during co-op's been revamped just like in Guardian of Light, and once again, it's a very good time and probably the sole reason Temple of Osiris got made. It's nice to form a tag team of explorers and get the job done or just screw around with them occasionally. Sorry, Jude. $20 though, that's pretty steep for such a short game as opposed to Guardian of Light's $10 price tag. If this was an indie title, then I would have said maybe go for it, but since Crystal Dynamics are professionals, that's a tough pill to swallow. Both games are on sale pretty frequently though, and that's how I managed to get them, so keep a lookout if you're interested. But no matter the price, while Guardian of Light and Temple of Osiris are fun in their own ways, neither of them meet the same qualities as some of the mainstream titles, spin-off or not. I'm sure they each have their fans, and I'll certainly have even more fun with co-op, but I doubt these games will stick with me from years to come.
I'm sorry to those who were expecting a better reaction, but that is how I truly feel about these games. They are both enjoyable to some degree, and I did have fun going back to actual tomb raiding as opposed to hunting and surviving in the rebooted series. But we got a few months before Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to be at least somewhat different. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed the next review, because you'll never see it coming.